Welcome to the Torah podcast for Parshas Naso. I'm your host, and today we'll be exploring a profound ethical tension found in this week's Parsha, one that has relevance to each of our lives as we navigate the balance between personal spiritual growth and social responsibility. In Parshas Naso, we encounter the halachos of the Nazir, an individual who voluntarily takes on special restriction, abstaining from wine and grape products, not cutting their hair, and avoiding contact with the dead. The Torah calls this person holy to Hashem, yet strangely, when the Nazir's vow is complete, they must bring a sin offering. This apparent contradiction sparked a famous debate among our sages. Rabbi Eliezer and later the Ramban believed the sin offering was required because the Nazir was returning to ordinary life after a period of heightened holiness. The sin was in stopping being a Nazir. Rabbi Eliezer HaKapar held the opposite view. He taught that the sin lay in becoming a Nazir in the first place. By denying oneself legitimate pleasures that Hashem created, one implicitly rejects the goodness of Hashem's world. As it says in Maseches Tainis, Daf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph, and in Nedarim Daf Yud Amud Aleph, if one who denies himself wine is called a sinner, all the more so one who denies himself the other pleasures of life. What makes this debate so fascinating is that the Rambam, that most logical of thinkers, seems to adopt both positions in Mishnah Torah. In one section, he criticizes those who embrace extreme self-denial. Yet elsewhere, he praises the Nazir as being praiseworthy and the equal of a prophet. Rabbi Sachs, Zecher Levracha, offers us a brilliant resolution to this contradiction. The Rambam recognized that there are two distinct modes of the virtuous life: the way of the saint, the chassid, and the way of the sage, chacham. The chassid pursues personal spiritual perfection through extremes. The chacham follows the middle path, the golden mean, balancing competing values and responsibilities. Both are valid paths, but they serve different purposes. The chassid may achieve extraordinary personal holiness. The chacham understands something vital. We don't live as isolated individuals. We have responsibilities to family, community, and society that can't be abandoned in pursuit of personal perfection. A chassid might give away all their possessions to the poor, but what about their family's needs? A chassid might forgive all crimes against them, but what about justice in society? A chassid might withdraw from worldly matters, but what about building a functioning community? This explains Rambam's seemingly contradictory positions. From a personal perspective, the Nazir has chosen a noble path of self-discipline and spiritual focus. From a societal perspective, there is something missing: an engagement with the collective responsibilities we bear toward one another. How does this ancient debate speak to us today? Many of us feel between these two ideals. We aspire to spiritual growth and self-improvement, yet we live in families and communities that need our active participation. The tension is real. Sometimes we feel the demands of daily life, work, family obligations, community responsibilities, pull us away from spiritual depth. At other times, we might worry that our spiritual practices disconnect us from those who need us. Perhaps the most powerful model comes from Rambam's own life. Rabbi Sachs notes that Rambam longed for seclusion and time for his spiritual and intellectual pursuits, yet he also recognized his responsibilities as a physician and as a halakhic authority for his community. He worked to exhaustion, carrying this double burden: a sage who longed to be a saint, but who knew he could not abandon his responsibilities to others. This is not to say we must all be like the Rambam. Different seasons of life may call for different approaches. There are times when we need to temporarily withdraw for spiritual renewal. There are individuals whose unique calling may be the path of the saint. For most of us, the challenge is integration, finding ways to deepen our spiritual lives while remaining fully engaged with our families, communities, and society. The Chacham's path reminds us that moderation and balance through less dramatic extremes are often more sustainable and ultimately more beneficial for the whole. As we conclude, let's consider one practical way to apply this wisdom. This week, identify one area where you have been pulled toward an extreme, either too much withdrawal from responsibilities or too much immersion in external demands at the expense of your spiritual life. Then consider what a middle path might look like in that area. How might you honor both your need for spiritual growth and your responsibilities to others? The answer will be different for each of us, but the question itself is one worth returning to again and again. In the words of Rabbi Sachs, Rambam was a sage who longed to be a saint, but knew he could not be if he was to honor his responsibilities to his people. May we all find our own balance between these two noble paths. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Musar Torah. Until next week, may we continue growing together in wisdom and in kindness. Have a good Shabbos.